Well, hey, everybody, this is Kim Stevens, your community leader for the Women of the Channel Leadership Network, and welcome to another WOW session. Joining me today is Katie Bird. Katie is with Cynet, and she is the Director of Channel Marketing. Katie, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
What is a little known fact about you?
So I was thinking about this, and a little known fact I think that this group would really appreciate is I haven't done a load of dishes since 2015. I know, right? Everyone has their yin to their yang. I married mine, and he has some very particular ways that he likes the dishes done. So after the fourth time of unloading dirty dishes and putting them up, I was like, I can't tell the difference between your dirty dish and your clean dish. I'm done. And I haven't done loads of dishes since 2015.
I just have to say, you are now my idol. I'm just saying.
He is literally the yin to my yang. My house would be an absolute disaster. I would be unable to schedule anything. And Lord knows I'd have a pile of dishes in the sink if it wasn't for that man.
Along your journey, have you ever received, I'm going to ask it a different way. Instead of what's the best advice you've ever received, what would you say was maybe the worst advice you've ever received?
I'm going to start with the advice I never took, and then the advice I did take and what I learned from both of those. The worst piece of professional advice I've ever been given was most certainly when I went to apply for a gig, a full-time gig at that particular company I was working at. I wanted, didn't want to be a contractor anymore. And I sat down with the SVP of marketing, and his feedback post-interview was, you sold yourself too good. Perhaps you should think about a career in sales. I didn't take his advice, thank goodness. That would have definitely changed the rest of my career. But I didn't take his advice because that's not what I wanted to do. The worst piece of advice that I did take, it was probably pretty early on in my career. So I was learning more, and I had these, it was pretty early on in my career. I was learning more, and I was being exposed to more people. And there were a couple of conversations that happened along the way where I was encouraged to be quiet and to really, take my ideas to my direct manager versus speaking up when I was in meetings. And I really I think this person had valid advice, but it was not for me. So I took it. And then I eventually transferred companies. And when I moved over to the next company, I wasn't even 60 days in, and my boss had enough. She was like, if you don't start speaking up in these meetings, I'm going to have it because you have these great ideas, but you don't say anything. And it was like a memory muscle to try to remove. And as soon as I did that, I realized that I got my own individual Katie swagger back. And I was like, okay, that's cool. People love me because sometimes I lack a little filter. And I am authentically me, but by forcing that on myself, it was absolutely awful. And my career, once I took that off, went into hyper growth mode. So I would encourage everybody to do speak up in meetings and to just listen to the feedback that you're being provided, but that doesn't mean you have to take it.
Through the years, have you noticed any patterns over the years just about fellow women at work and the things that perhaps they could do differently to advance their career? Like you shared, you needed to relearn how to speak up and share your great ideas, and that was the big difference maker. Are there other things that you've noticed along your journey, just for words of advice for our members?
Why are we so bad about advocating for ourselves? All too often, I run into too many women in the workplace, and they feel like I hustle all the time. I'm always there. I'm always contributing. I'm always getting things done. I'm always meeting these deadlines. Why am I not getting that raise? Why am I not getting that promotion? Why are things not happening to me that may be happening to my male counterparts? It's because we're not speaking up. We're not advocating for ourselves. I'm somebody, truthfully, I learned this lesson the hard way, where I wasn't necessarily advocating for what I needed, and I had to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. especially when it comes to pay parity. So I think that those go along the same lines. So, young people in our careers, we could sign up at a lower rate. It's going to take us longer to get where everybody else is. These are serious conversations, but young women aren't trained to advocate for a raise. And I think we should be doing a better job of training them to get comfortable with that. It's okay to ask for what you need so that you can take care of you. Because at the end of the day, we work to live and not the other way around. So you should always be advocating for yourself. And then on that same token, I think I brought this up, but I'm someone who was directly impacted by not speaking up and saying these things sooner. And so there was a shortfall between where I was paid, candidly, and where my peers were paid. And this went on for too long. And what ultimately happened, Kim, which I strongly recommend every organization do, is this organization went through a pay parity exercise. They confidentially within HR, they went through every person that worked on every team and evaluated them. And I was flagged as someone who was substantially underpaid. And in the next breath, I received a 23% pay increase from that company, retroactive to the beginning of the year.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I
Was that
remember-
something that the company just took on themselves to do, or was it from employees speaking up, or how did that come to be?
I don't know the whole reasons behind why HR had done that, except for we had been through a lot of integration and we had just spun out. And when you spin out, you're allowed to build up your own HR platform. So maybe it was an outstanding issue that they wanted to address. But the day I got that email, confidential, managers didn't know how much your pay increase was. Nobody knew. It was a blanket email that came from HR that said, we've identified that you were part of this. And I remember sitting in my car after work, just crying, like feeling like I can finally play ball with everybody else and not feel like I'm catching up.
We are doing a workshop this week on negotiation. And
Yeah.
the big theme is, our biggest issue is we don't ask.
Yeah.
We don't ask,
And
right?
I have another one, and we're not quiet. So my best piece of advice to people with negotiation is you got to imagine like a tightrope, right? Like you're personally balancing on a tightrope. And at some point you need to, just like they do in order to walk from one side to the other, embrace the tension, be okay with the silence, and realize that that's your biggest negotiation tactic, is to say nothing sometimes.
Have there been any times where you've taken a risk, and what was the circumstances and what was the outcome?
Yeah, the biggest professional risk I've ever taken in my life. I sit in the chair every day. It was most certainly joining Cynet. To come from an industry cybersecurity leader to an unknown man on the scene was a huge risk, but the opportunities, they outweighed it. So the opportunity to build the team from the ground up, the partner programs from the ground up, partner marketing from the ground up, that's a once in a lifetime career opportunity. You take it when someone knocks on the door with that type of opportunity. But I left a cush gig where I was happy and things were going great and my partners were happy, but the opportunity knocked, and I'm a big believer of vetting those out, and they had the right technology and they had the right leadership. So here I am almost a year later. Is the biggest risk I ever took, but it has paid in dividends for me professionally and for the company.
Are there some individuals or maybe things that you look to that inspire you along your journey?
The person who's impacted my career the most is my mom. I know, but I mean it too. My mom owned her own marketing agency. So I grew up in a marketing agency. I knew the 4 P's of marketing probably before I knew long division. And I was the kid that knew the billboards that my mom's agency did. I thought that was cool, but like that was my mom's gig. It wasn't really necessarily like into that. But like so many people do, they go to college and they're like, I want to change the world. And yes, we need people that change the world. And I hope I'm doing that in my small little like realm of the world, but I was going to get a degree in psychology. And then I was getting ready to graduate, and my mom was like, you can't get a degree in psychology. Like, well, you're not employable. Like, you need a minor, please, please. So I was like, well, I'll minor in marketing. Like, why not? I was born and raised in it. Never in my wildest dreams did I realize that 80% of what I know anyway, I learned completely through osmosis for that woman. My mom was one of the hardest working individuals I know, but she never missed a volleyball tournament. She was always on, and she gave literally everything she had to her kids. And like, I want to be a little bit like my mom, but I was thinking about that the other day when I first got the opportunity to come and talk to you, and correlating my mom into this equation and how far we've come as women. So my mom told me that when she was young, when I was really young, it was inappropriate socially for my mom to be able to go to business meals with men. So she'd have to have them in her office, even though she owned her own agency, which seems absolutely foreign. To get to a place to where I am today, where I'm the director of channel marketing for a multi-million-dollar company as a female. Like, thank you, Mom. We never thought I was going to shatter this glass door. And I can't wait till my son goes into a boardroom where it's an equal mix of men and women and all different types of races, because we know that that provides more diverse ideas and better output. So it's a journey. And I hope that one day my son is like, okay, cool, I understand the sacrifices that my grandma made and my mom made for just like a more diverse culture up at the sea level. But yeah, she's definitely made the biggest impact on me in my life. And I'm using past tense because I did lose my mom. So every milestone that I hit, like, darn it, I wish she was here to celebrate with me. I know she's happy and I know she's dancing, but I just would love to hear her voice saying, I never expected that one, kid. But yeah, she definitely, and I'm a carbon copy of her too, Kim. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah. If
you look exactly the same.
I look exactly the same. I talk like her. We have similar leadership styles. It's creepy, but my mom by far had the biggest impact on my professional career today.
That's so beautiful. What a beautiful tribute to her. I'm sorry that she's no longer with us, but she is undoubtedly proud of you. Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's so amazing. Well, Katie, thank you so much for doing this. I love your story. I love your message. I love your tribute to your mom, but just thank you for sharing yourself with our members.
Thanks. I can't wait to know everybody too. So of course it's a privilege to be able to share my story at this time. And I hope that someone gains something from the random musings of this person in Oklahoma. So
undoubtedly they will. So you guys, and when you listen to this, I know you're going to get something out of it. Would you just give Katie a shout out, let her know that you appreciate what she has shared, and we will see you guys on the next WOW session. You guys take care.